Hi, a lot of people ask me, is the ego the evil? The very thing that you fight against is not the real problem. Hi, my name is Roberta Tachi and this is part of the Awakens class. Welcome here. So some people tell me the ego is the horrible thing, it's a horrible thing you have to fight against. And at the same time, they many times read the Course in Miracles. I have my book here just to show you, my book full of marks. And they ask me, is the ego the horrible thing? How do I do? I'm not supposed to fight, but it shows in this book how it's a horrible thing. What should I do? It's important to understand that the ego, there is a range of things that the ego can be like just a little bit negative or can be really cruel. The ego can be really cruel and can be with a strong desire to hurt. So that's why we have to keep an eye on it, to know when we are in the ego. But it's not about fighting against it, it's about accepting it. So in order to accept, you will have to be conscious, aware of it. If you're not aware, then your first job is to become aware. Am I in the ego now? And how do I know that? It's super simple. If you are in a loving, joyful place, joy, love, peace, tranquility, then you're not in the ego. But if it's anything out of that or has any kind of even a light tension or something that is still holding you back, or I'm just protecting myself. Protection is a super activity of the ego. The ego loves to pseudo-protect. So if you're closing to life, if you're saying no to life, that means you're in the ego. So become aware is the first step. And becoming aware and then accept. So I would say acceptance is the second step, because so that would be two A's, awareness and acceptance. First of all, you become aware, then you accept. Accept doesn't mean you're gonna act based on the ego. In order to accept, you will have accept. So I would say acceptance is the second acceptance. Then you accept. Accept doesn't mean you're gonna, but accept means that you cannot accept that you're not going to fight against, but you're gonna accept your limiting. So the ego is not to fight against, it's just to accept. But accept means that you're not going to fight against, but you're gonna accept your limitations, your flaws, knowing that you are not perfect, or not perfect as you wanted to be, and that's okay. That you can accept your anger, you can accept hate something or someone, that you can accept frustration, that you can accept when something doesn't go in the way you wanted, or that you didn't get what you wanted. And it's okay. It's okay, it's not going to destroy you. When we are little, many times we thought that feeling that I didn't get what I want would destroy me. And that's why we repress so much defenses we build against those feelings. But as an adult, you know that your survival does not depend on that. That even if the immediate of the survival does depend on that, you will see there are other ways to do or to receive from the universe. And the reason we open for other ways is because we go into this acceptance place. So this acceptance, in fact, opens up for you to feel, to receive from the universe other ideas, even from the self. You will have more creativity, how you're going to solve a problem, how you're going to have a solution for what is going on, some issue that you might be struggling with. It's not about fighting against, because when you fight against and you cannot accept that something is wrong with you, that means it's the ego who is saying that. The very thing that you fight against is not the real problem. The real problem is the voice that is telling you that you cannot accept, that you're not perfect. And many times people do not perceive that, because the voice that they want to be better is so strong and looks so right, so correct to do that, and it's spiritually correct. I'm gonna do that, but that's what I call the bypass also. It's like you're not seeing many times the voice that says that you cannot have a flaw, that if you're not perfect, you're not going to be loved, God's not going to love you, or that you're not a spiritual being. That's not true. Your essence is always the same, unwavering, stable, steady, always there, present in you. This essence, your consciousness, is pure love. So it has nothing to do with being perfect or not perfect to receive love or to be a loving person. So you have to be first loving to yourself, accepting your own limitations, your own flaws, accepting your own ego. Doesn't mean you're going to act based on the ego. It means that you will accept in order to transform. This transformation only can happen if you have first accepted. So it looks like it will finish with, okay, that's the way I am. That's the way I am. I wonder. And then this I wonder is enough to begin a new spiral of changes that can really clear this, certain behaviors, certain habits, ways of thinking that are limiting, that are not in alignment with who you really are, who the expansion, the real expansion, the inner expansion, the super huge, immense, infinite space that you are in consciousness. So sometimes we're gonna go right into facing the ego exactly because we are ready to let this small area that we are operating to become a little bigger. So it's to expand toward yourself, that you can become more. And the resistance sometimes is just fear of not knowing, fear of thinking the way I am will never change. So all of those voices, from the ego. So the Course in Miracles many times also is going to say a lot about the ego. It's going to explain a lot about how the mind works and all these little tricks that the ego does also to perpetuate, to self-perpetuate in our thought system. But that's why awareness is so important, so that you become conscious and you can see when are you, making a little trap for yourself to fall into. So that's important. Consciousness, awareness, and acceptance. So the ego is not to fight against, it's just to accept. And that will reduce all this power that the ego many times pretends to show, in fact. Also doesn't mean you're gonna have you control all the time. You many times will act based on the ego because you do not know better. This is something for you to become aware afterwards, so little by little also it changes your actions so that you can be more into yourself than the ego when you act. So I'm gonna talk more. There's many facets of this part of our mind who is not in alignment with our divine consciousness. Okay, so I hope to see you soon. Bye. How to accept? You will have accept. So when you say acceptance, there's the second acceptance. When you accept doesn't mean you're gonna, but accept means that you cannot accept, that you're not going to fight against, but you can accept your limit, that you can accept your anger, that you cannot accept, that you can accept the frustration, that you can accept when something doesn't have acceptance place. It's not acceptance, your own limitations, your own flaws. Accept in order to transform. First accept and acceptance. So the ego is not to fight against, it's just to accept.